In this video, we are going to update your Webflow form to make sure that checkboxes are required. Let's dive in. Okay, I am inside my Webflow project. I've got a very simple form that I've just added to the page. It's all the default fields. What I'm going to actually do though is I'm going to add some checkbox fields. So let's just add a few checkboxes. And the thing that I actually want to do is I'm going to need to wrap these in a div. I want to put them all inside a div so that I know which checkboxes are all grouped together. So actually, let's add our div as well. And I'm going to drag that checkbox into the div. And then I'm going to, let's add 5 checkboxes. Okay. And I actually want them to be above my submit button. So let's just call this one option 1. Option 1. And option 2. Option 3. Option. Okay, so now I've got my check boxes. And what I want to do is I want to just make sure that one of these is required. So I'm actually going to, let's copy a field label. And let's call this options. Okay. So I just want to make sure that one of these is required. And so they have to select one of these things before they can submit. So I have my checkboxes. I've got my container. What I need to do is I'm going to give this div a class. So let's call this checkbox container. And then what I want to do is also I need to have an error message in case there is no checkbox that was submitted. So I need something to show up if they haven't submitted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another div. And let's call this error message. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some text inside of there. I'm going to say, you need to choose an option. So I've got my error message, and we can let's make this stand out a little bit. Okay. So we've got our error message. In reality, I'd probably be using rems and all of the things, but just for the sake of our demonstration here, I am just styling this very quickly. You can style it however you want. So my error message is actually going to be hidden though, because I don't want to show that right away. And now I've got my options. So what we're going to do next is we're going to insert some code into this page that when we hit the submit button, we're going to go and we're going to look in that container and we're going to loop through all of our options, all of our checkboxes to see if any of them are checked. If something's checked, then we can submit. If something is not checked, then we're going to show the error message and we're not going to submit the form. So let's go grab that code that you can find on the No Code Collab website. Okay, so this is the code that you're going to grab from the No Code Collab website. You'll notice that I've added a couple spots that I'm calling out with this square bracket star. Anywhere you're seeing a square bracket star, this is where we need to fill something in. So you can see that I've got my submit button class. We actually need to go and add a class to our submit button and enter it in here. Then we've got our checkboxes container class. That was the div that's wrapping all of our checkboxes. And then what we're doing is we're just looking for the inputs inside of that checkbox. So we don't need any other classes there. And then lastly, we have our error message class. That is the div that we want to show if there is an error. So what we have now is those 3 classes, and you'll also see that we need to update them down here as well. So grab this code, copy it, and head over to Webflow. Go to your page that has the that you have the form on. Scroll to the bottom, and we're going to put this in the before body tag. We need to put this at the end of the page to make sure that our jQuery has already loaded. I'm going to put that in there. I'm just going to paste it in there. I'm going to save it off, and I just want to refresh my memory on some of these classes. So I'm going to grab my container, my checkbox container class. Anywhere that I see that in my code, I'm going to update that. So I've got my checkboxes container class. I'm just going to paste that right in there. Make sure you keep the period. So we got the checkboxes container, and then I've got that again down here, checkboxes container, maintaining the period inside of the quotes. I'm going to save those off. Now I'm going to give this submit button. We forgot to give it a class. So I'm going to give this is going to be called submit button. I'm going to copy this class, head over to my code, and where we see the submit button class, I'm going to swap that out for my new class. And I don't believe I have it anywhere else. Cool. Save that. And now we need our error message, the one that's hidden. So I'm going to grab the error message class, head back over to my code, and update class wherever we see it. Message class, error message class, and error message class. This would probably be a great use case for using attributes. I just haven't built it to use attributes. So I'm going to publish my project, and we will take a look on our site. So here we are on the demo site. As you can see, I've got this really simple form. And what happens when I try to submit the form without including any options, you'll see that if I hit submit, I get my error message. Now, I'd probably want to style this up so it's not bouncing around and getting wider and things like that, but I'm getting my error message. Now, we also set it up so that if I click on any of the inputs, my error message goes away. So if I try to submit this, now my email address, I believe, is required. And so it's going to ask me to fill in my email address. But it's now not asking me to fill in an option here. But if I put my email in, and now I try to submit, my error message. If you do have multiple checkbox containers in your form, you will need to manipulate this code a little bit. It's not too difficult. Basically, we just need to duplicate some sections. Let me give you a quick overview of that. So if you head to your before body section of the code, everything inside the submit button needs to be duplicated based on how many containers you have. So if you have 3 containers, you would have 3 variables that were all set to false. Make sure your variable names are unique. So you might have isChecked1, isChecked2, and isChecked3. Then you would need to have 3 containers set to the 3 unique class names. Make sure your class names are unique so that we know where to look. So you would have checkbox container 1, and then maybe the class is also called checkbox container 1, checkbox container 2 with a class of checkbox container 2, checkbox container 3, and so on. Then we've got these little functions, and you just need to duplicate the functions and swap out wherever you saw checkbox container, swap that out for container 1 and isChecked1. Container 2 is checked2, container 3 is checked3. So you're going to have 3 sections of these, and then you're going to do the same thing. 3 sections of if is checked. You could have 3 error messages if you wanted, or you could have 1 generic error message. We're basically calling that class. So if you wanted to have a specific error message per group, you could do that. You'll just want to make sure that whether or not you have 3 error messages or 1, you will need to duplicate this 3 times. Then lastly, you're going to duplicate this last section 3 times, updating the class name for your checkbox containers. If you have done that, you should be able to have required checkboxes multiple times on the same form, on the same page. So it is flexible, but you're going to have to do a little manipulation in there. Hopefully you found this tutorial helpful and you now have an easy way to make a checkbox required on your Webflow form. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and be sure to head over to our website where we have the code snippet that we used in this video. And with that, we will see you at the next tutorial.